Tonight, I'm only going to be talking about the resistance in Lebanon and Gaza. We had the most intense attack coming from Hizbullah on Haifa in particular, with detailed bases and locations that they targeted with hundreds of missiles. They haven't disclosed the number yet, but by the level that they landed on Haifa, this has been the most intense attack ever on the city of Haifa, which is considered to be one of the most important cities in Israel and the most important city economically when it comes to Israel. I'm going to give you all of the details in all of the videos about this attack, including many videos that haven't been published before. The second thing that I wanted to talk to you about is the resistance in Gaza. We had a day again in Gaza, unbelievable levels of attacks on the genocide forces. Where? In Jabalia. Jabalia, the area that they are trying to ethnically cleanse, the area that they destroyed completely, the area where they're murdering children, destroying hospitals, killing people when they're sleeping, targeting UN refugee shelters, targeting schools where innocent civilians seek shelter, and imposing a campaign of starvation against the population. We had 5 intense attacks coming from Al-Qassam brigades in Jabalia, where they in total took down no less than 38 genocide soldiers, including in 3 Merkava tanks, 1 troop carrier, and 2 bulldozers, wreaking havoc and destroying and killing innocent people inside of Gaza. And this is what I'm going to start off with. I'm going to start off with this man. This man is a fighter from Al-Qassam brigades. He is a disabled man who was wounded and participated in the attacks on the genocide forces in Jabalia today, alongside several of the Palestinians in North Gaza who carried out these attacks against Israel. And before he had this actual attack, he sent a message. He sent a message saying, "Despite my injury, I carry my explosive and will head toward the enemy. Inshallah, I will say, as our Sheikh said, place my neck on the blade, ignite my ribs. You cannot besiege my thought for an hour or strip away my faith and the light of my conviction, for the light is in my heart and my heart is in the hand of my Lord, and my Lord is my helper and supporter. I will live clinging to the bond of my creed, and I will die smiling so that my religion can live." And the operation itself started off with the attack of this man when it comes to the general attacks in Gaza by doing this. The first operation was carried out by that man who was disabled, who targeted a Merkava tank, and that the second operation targeted the D9 bulldozer when it comes to the genocide forces in Gaza, and they continued with their operations that were carried out in Jabalia. And I'll share the rest of the video with you. This one was an armored personnel carrier. Usually the armored personnel carriers in Israel can carry up to 18 soldiers inside them. The Merkavas can hold 4, some of them 4 plus 3, and the troop carrier can carry approximately 18 people. Some of them can carry 12 to 13. This one can carry 18 people. And again, they destroyed all of it. And that is in Jabalia. All of these recordings are from the Jabalia, the most hardly hit area nowadays in Gaza.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وما رميت إذ رميت ولكن الله رمى لا غالب إلا الله إيه؟ أيوه صوب يا أسد بسم الله بسم الله بسم الله بسم الله ضربت حبسها الله عزة للدين الله أكبر الله أكبر
So these were the attacks that came from Gaza. We started off with Gaza. Again, 5 attacks. These were from the ones that we published in this stream. There was another attack where they took down a genocide soldier with a sniper. All of these indicate that the resistance in Gaza will continue regardless of what Israel is doing. And the fact that we're talking about Jabalia and that the resistance is still able to function over the ground and under the ground, they still have communication when it comes to the movement of the genocide forces in Gaza. All of these things indicate that no matter what Israel does inside of Gaza, they would not be able to take down the resistance, especially with the level of intensity that we saw today. Israel mostly claims that they took down the ability of Hamas and the Palestinian resistance from conducting operations against them in Gaza. They always say that we dismantled Hamas as an organization. They no longer have organizational military capabilities. We're only fighting guerrilla warfare inside of Gaza. However, the facts that are coming from the ground indicate that all that Israel is saying is lies upon lies. They are being hit in the areas that are hit the most. Wherever Israel hits the most, they get the most resistance, and again from people who are disabled. And the other day we shared the man who was 60 years old as well, fighting them in Gaza. So doesn't matter what they say, evidence coming from the ground proves the absolute opposite when it comes to Gaza, which leads us to Lebanon. This happened in Haifa today, and you won't see some of these images. This happened in Haifa. Haifa has the main port. It's the economic gate of Israel. It's a place where you have a lot of chemical refineries, ammonia factories. Very dangerous place to be hit. And Hizbullah warned Israel before, if you escalate, we'll turn Haifa into Kiryat Shmone. And now they turned it into something worse than Kiryat Shmone because of the scale of attacks and the level. You have a lot of population inside of Gaza. And before I share the actual videos with you, I'm going to tell you what Hizbullah said that they targeted inside of Haifa, because in Israel, of course, they don't say what has been hit. In many of the videos that are seen published, you don't see the evidence of what is being targeted or the elaboration. But we had these confirmations coming from Hizbullah, although they haven't yet published an all-out inclusive declaration when it comes to the attacks that they conducted on Haifa. But we had a couple of flash news coming from Hezbollah saying that they targeted for the first time the Nesher base, a gas station belonging to the Israeli enemy army located 40 kilometers southeast of the occupied Haifa city from the Lebanese borders. Then they also targeted the Tirat al-Karmel base, which includes a regiment and a battalion of the northern region, including a naval logistics base south of the occupied city of Haifa. They also targeted the Stella Maris base, which is a strategic base for maritime surveillance and monitoring on the northern coast. And they targeted the Haifa naval base affiliated with the Israeli Navy and including a fleet of missile boats and submarines. They also targeted the Haifa technical base affiliated with the Israeli Air Force, including a training college for preparing Air Force technicians, alongside other attacks. But these were some of the main locations that they targeted in Haifa. But we had landings in locations apart from those locations in Haifa. And now it's time for the videos. That's one of the first videos of the attack on Haifa, or one part of Haifa. So as you can see, no interception, no nothing, and only after the missiles landed, you started to have certain sirens coming in. This was widely circulating, and again, these videos are coming from people on the ground. So it's important to say that you can't verify all of them because people are sending them and publish them, but all of them are being released, and we try and be as accurate as possible today following the attacks on Haifa. And this was another video that one resident of the city took of the landing, or some of the landings with the noise of the landings.
Hi. Hi.
Now, one thing important to note here, that if you notice with the videos that we published so far, there are missiles landing and there are no interceptions and there are no sirens. Sirens start to become activated afterwards. In some cases, the interceptions begin after some of the missiles started to land. And here we have another video. Again, as you can see, landings, missiles trying to intercept, something exploding in the air, but after many of these missiles started to land. And that's very important because, of course, the usual claims are Well, the missiles are being intercepted. They're hardly hitting anything. However, the facts on the ground prove the contrary. That we are actually seeing landings, and we're actually seeing destruction as well, such as the case with this video here. So again, this is the level of destruction coming from Hizbullah, coming from the attacks of Hizbullah on Israel. And I'm just going to check if we have a couple of more relevant videos for you. Yeah, there's one more video of the sound of landings. Some missiles trying to intercept. So intense days. And again, an important disclaimer, although like the certainty or the level of certainty of the accuracy of all of these videos is extremely high. But again, these were sent by people in Israel. There is a lot of censorship. The only way people are able to publish anything is by sending things on social media. And of course, they start to circulate. In some cases, there have been certain videos that we have been able to verify if they are received by certain people you might know. However, with the rest of them, if the person who sent them or published them, you don't know them, you don't know who they are, you share them, but it's important to have this disclaimer. And we also have a couple of other videos of the damage on some of the buildings in Haifa. Again, you're seeing the whole building destroyed. These are landings in multiple parts of Haifa, south, north, central, alongside the strategic hubs that Hezbollah targeted today in what was the most intense day on Haifa ever in history. And notice the pattern that we're having here. We're having a pattern of threats coming from Israel and, of course, the mediators as well, Amos Hochstein and the United States delegation that goes to Lebanon back and forth. And Israel threatened Hezbollah that with each day that passes where you don't accept our conditions for a ceasefire, we will have more lethal blows against you. And Israel indeed increases the attacks on what? On civilian infrastructure, on people, on children. This is what they do in Lebanon. They destroy buildings, they destroy hospitals, healthcare facilities, sacred places. And now they've been targeting Baalbek. Baalbek with the 11,000 year history and important monuments in Baalbek, similar to what ISIS did in Syria previously. Yet Hezbollah are still able to conduct operations like the Palestinian resistance is able to conduct operations. And what do we understand from this? We understand that despite the level of destruction coming from Israel on the civilians, on the infrastructure, on the hospitals, on the universities, on the schools in Gaza, all of the universities were bombed, and over 70% of all schools were destroyed, completely destroyed. And they target the rest of them wherever people try and seek shelter, alongside all of the hospitals, every single lifeline. But you still have resistance. What does that tell you? That tells you that Israel's military campaign or genocide campaign militarily is failing miserably. They have no 1 ounce of success when it comes to the Palestinian resistance and when it comes to the Lebanese resistance and the Palestinian resistance, because they are unable to stop the attacks that are being conducted on Israel, and they are unable to achieve any of their declared military objectives, neither in Gaza nor in Lebanon. Now, in Lebanon, we were expecting a very high level of intensity from Hezbollah because they are more capable and more well-equipped than the Palestinian resistance. But the almost unbelievable resistance is coming from Gaza. You're talking about people coming from the rubble. It's like something out of a fairy tale. Total destruction, and people coming out and still fighting this genocidal entity, including disabled people and people who are over 60 years old. That shows you who you're dealing with in terms of people on the Palestinian side and Lebanese side, and who you are dealing in terms of people and their backers when it comes to the genocide entity. Very, very high intensity. And it doesn't appear that any sort of diplomatic or military pressure is working, particularly in Lebanon, because we know very well that it hasn't worked in Gaza. Both Hamas and Hezbollah told Israel, we will not give you what you haven't achieved in war politically. So if you try and achieve anything from a political or diplomatic perspective through negotiations, after you failed to achieve it with your war crimes and barbarism, we will not allow you. You will not be able to achieve it. No amount of destruction, no amount of killing, no amount of genocide, no amount of losses will shift the path of those people fighting Israel. And this is the thing that will be changing the equation, especially due to the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel are going on an all-out maximalist approach, war where there is no turning back. After the temporary ceasefire we had 40 days approximately into the genocide in Gaza, we haven't had anything to de-escalate. Everything only escalated, and there are no indications that Israel is planning to decrease its escalation. The only thing that might happen is they might have some sort of breathing space to get their forces together, to have a breathing space slightly, and then go and continue on their campaign, because they have made everything clear. They are on their way to declare sovereignty over the West Bank, over Gaza. They are talking about total control from the southern part of Lebanon. And you have people inside the Israeli government who are blatantly saying that they are looking to establish the Greater Israel. The Greater Israel stretches between Egyptian territories to Saudi Arabian territories. And that's why you might have noticed a slight shift when it comes to Saudi Arabia. They're probably feeling that it's coming to them, no matter how much they submit to the United States administration's will and demands when it comes to the war. These were the main things that I wanted to share with you. Very intense. And especially when it comes to Hezbollah, they are showing Israel a level, well, not especially, because both the Palestinian and the Lebanese resistance are beyond comprehension. What they're doing against a state getting all that it needs from the world's largest superpower. Well, that's in question now. You know, we have China and Russia too, but they're getting everything from the United States administration. Yet with all of that, and with all of the betrayal, with all or most of the Arab states turning their backs and sometimes working in favor of the United States administration and the Zionists, these people are able to come up from under the rubble somehow, one person targeting 10, 20, and not taking any step back despite all of the atrocities and this genocidal entity crossing every line, breaking every law under the sun, disregarding every single thing to do with a smithereen of human rights when it comes to the peoples of the region. All of these things indicate that we are in an all-out war that is only escalating, and it doesn't appear that it will be stopping up until we have one side that is clearly victorious. And the final point that I wanted to talk to you about, one person shared a video on social media, and again, a disclaimer, I don't speak Persian. I speak English, Arabic, and Hebrew. I don't speak Persian. But there's a translation here from the IRGC spokesperson revealing that Iran owns advanced Russian S-400 air defense systems, where the spokesman is saying we are now employing S-300 and S-400 systems, so why did, and then the reporter told him, wait, S-300 and S-400, and then the spokesperson said, yes, no. That was published by a couple of accounts online, including the Middle East Spectator and Megatron, that I wanted to share with you here.
سامانه های S300 و S400 روسی رو خب ما داریم به کارگیری میکنیم. چرا رفتیم
هم S400 و هم S300؟
بله نه.
They did that last bit as a joke, that he let it slip that they have S-400. Now, the fact that Iran might possess S-400 is very significant because the S-400 is, of course, more advanced than the S-300, with a longer range and more sophisticated radars, if I'm not mistaken, more advanced technology. However, what Iran used so far, and again, we can't confirm that they haven't used S-400s in the Israeli attack that was carried out on them. They intercepted most of the projectiles that came from Israel, and even F-35s didn't dare come to the Persian Gulf and the Iranian territories, indicating that they already have a very high level of air defense systems able to intimidate and shock their enemies and stop them from carrying out any successful attacks on Iran with any meaningful results. Now, when it comes to the attack, and we covered it at the time, there were a lot of interceptions. Clearly, certain projectiles landed in Iran. That's why we had 5 Iranian martyrs from the Iranian army. However, the fact that Iran possesses S-400 without this being declared could indicate that Iran possesses other things without them declaring it, such as the advanced Sukhoi fighter jets coming from Russia. And these things will be a game changer in any open confrontation between Iran and Israel, or Iran and the United States administration.